The state of Alaska is known for being very cold and windy, especially during the winter months. But today, I'm going to try a different kind of Alaska. Come along with me. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm at Terminal 7 at Kennedy Airport, and I'm going to be flying on Alaska Airlines on a 737-900 to Seattle. Alaska Airlines operates from Terminal 7 at JFK. This is an old terminal built in 1970, so there's a lot of history here. Well, as usual, I've arrived super early. I am the only person here at the Alaska check-in area. I arrived 3 hours before my 11:30 a.m. flight, and the terminal was a ghost town. Alone, I used the kiosk to print my luggage tag and walked it over to the checked bag drop area. With no one on the TSA line, there was no delay at all. I am done with TSA. There's nobody here. It was really fast. I headed right for the Alaska Lounge. As a first-class passenger, lounge access is included, and I've arrived at JFK with a lot of extra time to take full advantage of this first-class experience. I feel lucky that Alaska has a lounge here at JFK. It's not a hub or even a focus city for Alaska, but flights are offered to Portland, San Diego, San Francisco, and Seattle. Today, I'm flying to Seattle, Alaska's main hub, and I head upstairs to an area that hosts the British Airways Galleries Lounge and the Alaska Lounge. First impressions? I love the entryway. It's not a very large space considering the limited number of flights on Alaska, but it's a warm and cozy space, and I'm immediately drawn to the floor-to-ceiling windows. I know right away that I'll be spending the bulk of my time sitting by them. What awesome views! I took a moment to check out the complimentary breakfast spread that was situated next to a warm fireplace. This is a really great setup and aesthetically very pleasing. There's even a standalone coffee bar. Coffee culture is huge in Seattle, and Alaska is a Seattle-based airline. The coffee bar just makes sense. I'm so happy I got here early. I'm visiting during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, so before I eat, I'm going to make sure that I wash my hands. The restroom is well appointed, and the soap was very pleasant smelling. Antica Farmacista is a Seattle-based company, and I'm pretty sure it's being used here since Alaska Airlines is based in Seattle. That's a nice local touch. I think I'm going to indulge in a little breakfast experience here this morning. Breakfast choices were ample and fresh, and off to the side was an area for juices and fruit. Everything was nicely laid out. There are a lot of beautiful places of furniture to sit on here, like these sofas, or I could even sit near the fireplace. But with those large windows, comfort is the least important criteria for me when seat selecting. I went for the bar seating overlooking Terminal 5. The more comfortable seats were just too far from the window for me. I went with some simple pastry and bread offerings and a glass of orange juice. The food was sufficient for breakfast, and I kept in mind that lunch was going to be served in first class today. The food was great, but the real star of the club were the views of JFK's operations, like this Alaska A321neo on Taxiway Alpha. This is one of 10 A321neos in the Alaska fleet. The view here is just amazing. Runway 4 left was the departure runway, but the terminal is closest to runway 13 left 31 right, allowing for some good runway views there. The forward view is of Terminal 5, home to JetBlue and a few other carriers like Hawaiian. This A330 is headed to Honolulu. This JetBlue A320 honors New York's finest. You can also get a glimpse of the iconic TWA Hotel from up here. I love the angle of the windows up here. It's like being in a control tower. These windows are an iconic feature of this terminal's design. It's time to turn my attention inward before I leave. I was able to use the free Wi-Fi on my laptop. Access was quick and easy, and the Wi-Fi served my needs. I love the fact that as a first class passenger, I have access to this lounge. It is beautiful. I have to tell you the truth, I am seriously and genuinely impressed with this lounge here at JFK. I love it. Well, I know I definitely want to come back to this lounge again. It was a very warm and relaxing atmosphere, but it's time now to head over to my gate. All right, I'm out of the lounge and I'm heading over to the gate. My Boeing 737-900 arrived last night from Portland, Oregon, so it's awaiting me here at JFK. Even after some time in the lounge, the terminal was still very quiet. I walked over to the departure board to check my flight information. Today I'm on flight 1063 using a call sign of Alaska 1063. It is obligatory for me to make sure that I get to see my airplane before departure, and it's not always possible at every airport, but today, a walk past some shops allowed me to get a great view of my Boeing 737-900. Not a bad looking airplane. This is actually a Boeing 737-900ER, and it first flew in August of 2016. The ER stands for Extended Range, and Alaska has 79 ER versions in their fleet at the time of this filming. This current aircraft type is a competitor to the Airbus A321. It's got a range of 2,700 nautical miles. It's just over 138 feet long with a wingspan of just over 117 feet. Let's head on over to the gate. I'm part of the very first boarding group today since I've secured a seat in the first class cabin. I was able to board after a small handful of people pre-boarded. The initial walk past the boarding pass scanning area allows you a final look at the 1970s terminal with its large slanted windows before entering the traditional US-style boarding bridge with no windows. I am so excited because this is my very first time on Alaska Airlines. As I turned the corner, I got my first look at the cabin where I'll be spending a lot of time for my cross-country flight. The seats are very plush and they are as comfortable as they look. With a 2x2 seating configuration in first and a 3x3 configuration behind this cabin, it's a typical 737 layout. Today I'll be sitting in seat 1D. I like the first row and I always try to avoid seat 1A on most airplanes since the boarding jet bridge often leaves marks on the first window on the left side of the aircraft. I was very impressed with the design on the forward bulkhead wall. It was pleasant to look at, and after touching it, I discovered that it was made of a material similar to a carpet. Nice touch, I like it. Well, welcome aboard the Alaska Airlines 737-900. Let's go to Seattle. The legroom is unbelievable in the first row. The flight attendant just came by with some water. Nice touch. I was very impressed with the boarding process today on Alaska Airlines. Boarded right away, ahead of schedule. Things were looking good. And my favorite feature of the 737-900, the large Boeing windows.
Board Alaska Airlines Flight 1063 service to the Seattle Tacoma International Airport. Thank you for being mindful of others as you find your seat. All of your items do need to be stowed. Please utilize that space on the floor next to the seat in front of you for at least one of your items. This is your primary storage space. If you fly more than once, feel free to use the overhead bin for your larger item, placing it straight in at a 90-degree angle. And this particular aircraft will accommodate roller bags sitting up on their side, so if you need to use that space more efficiently. If you're seated in row 16 or 17, now emergency exit row, please take a moment to read over the information on the safety card so you understand the qualifications regarding sitting here. And Any questions can be referred to a flight attendant at this time. Safety remains our number one priority. We're committed to bringing you next level care on every flight. To use safe still requires that all guests, including those that have been vaccinated, wear a mask over both mouth and nose. While you're on the aircraft and throughout the flight, refusing to wear a mask is a violation of federal law and may result in removal from the aircraft or penalties under these laws. Your crew and everyone around you appreciates your cooperation. Again, this is Alaska's Flight 1063, service to pushback Airport. Welcome aboard.
Well, after that announcement, we're just sitting here, and it's now past our pushback time. So the flight attendant just came by and spoke to the passengers in first class, and he said the reason for the delay was that someone's having a medical issue, and they're trying to make a determination if they should stay on board or leave. So I don't see anything going on in the aircraft. Let's see what happens. We're about 10 minutes behind schedule so far. It turns out that the issue was with a passenger in the rear galley, and the flight attendant spoke to passengers individually to explain what was going on to respect that passenger's privacy. Only a general but well-thought-out announcement was made.
I assure you it has nothing to do with the airframe or your air crew, but it is something that we have to resolve here on the ground. So just as soon as we do so, hopefully here very shortly, we'll be pushing back and underway. So we apologize for the delay here, and we'll have more information for you here shortly.
This is kind of reminding me of my saga where I was trying to go to LAX airport. I was super excited, and then I got delayed, and I actually didn't go to LAX airport. Well, I'm super excited this morning, but I'm delayed now. Just sitting here on the ramp at JFK.
Been resolved. Apologize again for our delay here. We'll be closing up here very shortly and pushing back. We'll give you an updated arrival time once we're airborne. Thank you.
Well, after about 30 minutes, the ill passenger finally walked off the airplane. Although I could not see or hear anything from up front, I can imagine that it was a rough situation back there, and I have to say that the flight attendants handled the situation with ease and extreme professionalism. Way to go, Alaska. We are now finally pushing back onto the T7 ramp. I am loving this view of the ANA 777, which will leave later on today for Tokyo's Haneda Airport. We're pushing back onto an active taxiway because space is very limited here at JFK. JFK has 6 separate terminals. So it's on to Victor Victor. What's our Victor Victor? Anyone get that reference? Victor Victor, or Double Victor, is the taxiway that we're going to take to leave the ramp. Once the tow truck is removed from the aircraft, JFK Ground Control issues us taxi instructions to runway 4 left.
73 Kennedy, runway 4 left, Commute Alpha and Kilo to cross, runway 41 left.
Traffic at JFK is very light now, and Ground Control gave us taxi instructions all the way to the beginning of runway 4 left. We're also instructed to cross runway 31 left. Here we get a nice view of Terminal 7. The other Alaska 737 that we see here is Alaska Flight 769, which is getting ready for its departure to San Francisco. Our taxi route takes us past Terminal 5, home of JetBlue and other carriers, including this really small Cape Air Cessna 402, which will depart later in the day for Martha's Vineyard. We wrap around Terminal 5 on taxiway Alpha, as instructed by the ground controller. It's a long taxi, but with one aircraft in front of us, it was quite fast. With a warm blue light above me, I'm taking it all in. I'm loving the view of the JFK Air Traffic Control Tower, where the controller who told us to take our route is located. If you look closely at the gate area, you can see Kenya Airways, Air India, and Singapore Airlines. Here's a LATAM 787 parked at a remote stand, and that's followed by an El Al 787. What a playground for airplane lovers JFK is. As we get closer to runway 4 left, the ground controller tells us to go behind an American 737 and to switch radio frequencies to the tower frequency.
And Alaska 1063, the American 737 is going to be a sequence on Kilo and 19-1. Good morning. Kilo 19-1 behind American.
We're now crossing runway 31 left, as we're instructed to do in our taxi instructions, and are headed on to taxiway Kilo on a peninsula that extends into Jamaica Bay. Once we get closer to the runway, the tower controller tells us to line up and wait on runway 4 left.
Alaska 1063, can't down, 4 left, line up and wait. 4 left, line up, 4 left.
Within a few moments, we are cleared for takeoff.
Alaska 1063, wind 0906, runway 4 left, cliff takeoff. 4 left, cliff takeoff, right.
Let's listen into the engines. Our two CFM56 high bypass turbofan engines are providing plenty of power. We are heavy today and we are full of fuel as we have a cross-country flight ahead of us. As we climb, the controller tells us to turn right to a heading of 100 degrees, a standard procedure for this runway, and to contact departure control.
Alaska 1063, turn right heading 100, contact New York departure. Right turn 100 on a heading and over to New York departure, Alaska 1063.
A look behind us provides a great view of the runway we just took off on, as well as the parallel runway, runway 4 right. Let's contact departure.
Departure Alaska 1063, 1200, climbing 5000, and the turn heading 100. Alaska 1063, near departure, ready to contact, climb maintain 17000. Climb maintain 17000, Alaska 1063.
The controller, who's located off airport in a radar room, advises that he has radar contact with us and we're allowed to climb to 17,000 feet. We climb on this heading to the east for a bit. Seattle, of course, is located to the west, and we'll be flying around the New York City area to the north. Once we're clear of other traffic, we're issued a turn to the northeast.
Alaska 1063, turn left heading 050. Left turn 050, Alaska 1063.
We continue on this 50-degree heading over Long Island. This keeps us clear of flights to other airports and prepares us to start a left turn to the northwest, which is where our initial departure gate out of the New York metropolitan area is. After just under 2 minutes, we're told to turn to the northwest and to contact the next departure controller.
Alaska 1063, turn left heading 340, contact departure 118.17. Over departure 118.17 and up over to 340 on the heading Alaska 1063.
We are en route to Alaska's mega hub of SeaTac. Before meal service, this is just a quick invite you to subscribe to my channel. You'll find that my videos are some of the most detailed and comprehensive aviation videos out there, so come join the thousands who have subscribed already. A few days before my departure, I used the Alaska Airlines app on my phone to pre-select my meal. I selected the miso pork, and as you can hear, the lovely flight attendant confirmed it here and took my drink order. Water with ice. Thank you. As I waited for meal service to begin, the captain made an airborne announcement.
We're expecting mostly a smooth ride. At least right now we're going to turn on that fasten seatbelts. Feel free to get up and use the ladder to stretch your legs. That is Alaska policy. In your seat, please keep that seatbelt fastened for us, just in case we do encounter any unexpected challenges. We do our best to make up as much time as we're able to. Here right now we're shifting. Being on the ground in Seattle about 30 minutes late, so about 3:30 or something. We should be able to gate within about 5 minutes after that. Like I said, if we're able to make up any of that time, we will get you a little bit more update to it. Once again, from the two of us up front, sit back, relax, and go.
The flight attendant then came by and handed me my drink order. Water in a box, and a glass with ice in it. Alaska aims to be a very environmentally friendly airline, so instead of a plastic bottle, they used boxed water from a company called Boxed Water. Boxed Water is a Michigan-based company that offers plant-based cartons that are 92% renewable. Even the cap is plant-based. The box water carton is refillable and is 100% recyclable. It's now time for the star of the Alaska Airlines first class service, the full meal. Like I said, I pre-ordered the miso pork. Here's its full description. Roasted miso marinated pork loin served with roasted butternut squash quinoa pilaf, fresh peas and green beans topped with a sweet onion and bacon marmalade. What a great presentation! There was even bread, nuts, salad, and a dessert on the tray, and Alaska branded silverware. What great food this was! I made a trip to the forward lavatory for the first class passengers. There was plenty of maneuverability room in this lav, and it was very easy to wash my hands, something very important to do during the ongoing pandemic. Remember the soap from the Alaska Lounge at JFK? Well, here's the same brand on board. This is very consistent. I like it. The lav is very well lit, and just before I left, I read a sign that thanked me for washing my hands. Well, that's all for part 1 of this 2-part series. Part 2 is going to focus on the landing in Seattle and the amazing flagship Alaska Lounge there. If you like the Alaska Lounge at JFK, wait till you see what it's like in Seattle. So stay tuned to my channel, and I'll be sharing the second part of my Great Alaska experience with you very soon.